Hey everybody, it's your old pal Chuck, and I'm back with another review. And today we are continuing our look at the Wave 2 of Legacy United with the Armorizer Guard. And that's with a D, not a T. Although I am looking forward to Shartimus Prime looking at this figure, because I'm sure he'll have some great jokes. And also, as an adult, I do feel obligated to say that if you do have a Shart that looks like this, I do think you need to go and seek medical attention. Now, with all that out of the way, this is, I would say, an anticipated figure just based on the look. This is a rock helicopter. I have no idea how aerodynamic it is. I don't know how it would even fly, but the propellers spin. They are bladed weapons as well. So, yeah, there's a lot of fun to this. I do like the colors. And one thing I didn't get from the preview pics is that there is a bit of like clear plastic just to give it a little bit of a sheen and light piping in robot mode. But as I mentioned with Starscream, I was able to get this from the commandstore.com, and I do believe of the Wave 2 United figures, it is the only one still in stock. So I highly recommend going to pick it up. Or, funny thing, if you did watch my review of Starscream, Cybertron Starscream, and I know many of you did, thank you, you might have caught the fact that I had said, well, these haven't even been announced yet, let alone gone up for pre-order. Well, wouldn't you know that Hasbro did a live stream and they did say next week they will fully reveal these figures and they will be going up for pre-order with release sometime in April. Now, uh, just between you and I, the Wave 1 figures weren't supposed to hit until beginning of March, like actually like around now maybe, and they came towards the middle end of, oh actually no, they came like the beginning of the new year. Yeah, what am I saying? Or something like that. I think they were supposed to hit like February, March, and they came like January. So don't be surprised if they go up for pre-order and they start shipping out very quickly, or other retailers like Command Store or Big Bad Toy Store get them in stock. But yeah, so very nice. I mean, I do appreciate the rotation here. Again, I don't know how aerodynamic this is. Um, Now the blades, the hand weapons here, and these side panels that become the shins in robot mode, uh, come detached in the packaging. They're wrapped in tissue paper behind the tray. Just keep an eye out for that. Um, but yeah, I guess really there's not much more to say. So you know what? I am not going to do a little jump here. Just adjust the camera. Let's get into the transformation. Now, the first thing I want to point out, you're going to have to remove these side thrusters weapons. And I just want to point out something cool that they really don't mention in the instructions. But you notice there's a little notch right there that actually lines up with that edge right there. So you actually, it kind of like angles it ever so slightly for a dynamic pose. So that's actually, besides the peg, you want to make sure you have that lined up. So you need to remove these. And these will become like weapons in robot mode. We'll talk about more when we get there. Now, they do say that you should remove the rotor blades. I'm able to do the transformation without that, but what you do need to do is fold them up to get them out of the way. So just a little something like that, maybe, do a splayed cape type of deal, whatever. So the first thing you want to do is come up to the front here and detach this section from, just like so, and it does peg in quite securely. And this will swing. You want to swing this back. Now, one thing you should know is there's a little tab on the tail, on the hip section here, that will kind of sit into the tail, that you want to maybe push the tail in, but that will help secure things. So you want to bring that up, and then there's a double hinge, so you want to bring that up too, just to get things out of the way. And once you have that done, you can then fold up these side panels and
this will just bring them out like this. These are the arms and sides of the chest. Uh, they peg in two places on the tail fin right here, as well as on a tab right there. And unfortunately, can be a little bit of an issue because it is a blind peg. But if you have it in right, everything does come up nicely. And you do notice that, having to move with leaving the rotor blades attached, you do have to like fiddle with them a little as you transform. And once you have all this done, what you can then do is just bring the rotor blade up like that. It works like a tail of like a beast mode, and it'll just slide into position there. And now what you want to do is bring that section up like so, and then that'll rotate, and there's a tab here into that waist slot, and that will snap into place. And now the rotor blades will just stay locked like so. You can then separate the what will be the legs, rotate them forward, and flip the feet up. And I do want to mention that I had said that these panels are removable. On the back, there is like something that says like R and L, so you know which way that they are meant to go. But there you go. And you do have some, nice ankle pivot there, but we'll get into the articulation in a moment. And to finish off the transformation, bring down this whole section here. There's like a little tab right there, but really what's going to lock this into place is closing those chest panels. Now, one thing you want to note is that there is a tab, like when you open these up, there's a tab right there that the bicep will fit into, but you can't peg it in until you open that panel. So the arm will separate, and now rotate it all the way around. And the instructions, again, aren't that clear because they're not in color. You do need to rotate the arms all the way around so that when they're here for robot mode, you want that peg hole facing inward to go into vehicle mode. And there's Shard in its robot mode. So the head, it does have light piping, very slight. You have this lovely section back over here, clear, translucent. And is that all translucent plastic? No, you know what? This is solid plastic. They just put a window in. And I think they do the same here, but unfortunately, part of the hinge is clear plastic. So there is that. So now, before we go into the weapons and stuff, let me just, that this is an armorizer, which means the figure does come apart. These are obviously usable. The rotor blades are usable. The arms can come off, and the legs come off. The arm, and this is shown in vehicle mode, so you end up with this like central section as well. But let me just also add that this is all very tight. So and again, these plates here come off as well. But that was one thing when I got this out of the packaging, I was very impressed by how tight the figure was. And as I mentioned, you have some nice. You have some nice ankle pivot. Jeez. Huh. Oh yeah, that's nice. But anyway, so let's get into the weapons. Well, the first thing is you can use the rotor blades as swords. Unfortunately, there is a notch on each blade that you can't hold it in the fist, but you can peg them like so in the side there. You can do a top and bottom configuration like that, and then have this peg into the forearm. And I'm a little disappointed by the fact that there's really no way to handhold it except like that. I really was hoping for a way to like cover the fist, but there is a peg hole there, which leads me to believe that might work later on with there's a rumor that all these armorizers are going to combine, so that might be a thing. Oh, and did I mention the hands rotate? So yeah, I mean, unless I'm missing something about how This is supposed to cover the fist. I just, that's a little, but anyway, so you do have that. And, this is basically how I would have the figure just for display, with all the accessories, and have them pegged into the back here. But the other thing you can do is, as you can see, there are slots here, all Blast Effect compatible. So you can peg the blade in the front, but because of that notch, it does sit off, not perfectly straight, a little off center. So, but that does allow for some dynamic posing. And there's no waist articulation. Oh, okay, no, there is waist articulation. I'm like, wait, how did I miss that? But yeah, so you can get some dynamic posing, and insult to injury, the deluxe I'm really looking forward to, Gears, they actually show being used with Shard here. But yeah, it's a cool figure. The colors are nice. I like how there's like a gradient and a blend to it. Very cool looking. Um, you know, the any issue I have with the figure has to do with the fact that um, you can't hold the swords straight up in the hand, like the rotor blades of swords. I mean, that's basic Transformer 101, maybe on a larger figure. When you put them in the booster weapons here, the fact that they sit off center, that's a little annoying. Also, in terms of like when you take it apart, in terms of like the weapon usage, a lot of it like stuff doesn't combine. A lot of it is dependent on using the top and bottom fist holes, which that is a thing. So there's that. But it is what it is. But all in all, I think this is a fun figure. This is our third Armorizer. This is the second deluxe. So it'll be interesting what the next core does. I've noticed the theme of melee-based weapons instead of projectile-based, so we'll go with there. But yeah, I think what we'll do now is we'll pause, and we will come. Okay, without taking too much more of your time, I think I've said all I can about Shard. I think it's a good figure to pick up. Of the deluxes of Wave 2, to be honest, I think it's Shard and Gears are going to be the best. The other one's going to be Chromia, and I think there might be a repack from another wave, or there's something maybe I'm missing. Again, I really try not to pay attention to leaks, but yeah, definitely this is going to be a pickup over that Chromia repaint with a new head of the animated universe Prowl. I'm not even picking that figure up, to be honest. So this is going to be a very short wave for me. But yeah, obviously though, the main one to get from this wave is going to be that Cybertron Starscream. But this is a fun figure, and I think as with all the other armorizers and weaponizers, the play value is doubled when you have it interact with another figure. So yeah, that's about it. Now I do want to talk to you guys for a moment because it has been brought to my attention that YouTube is once again fooling with their algorithm. Now I've mentioned before about subscribing, liking, and commenting. Well, now what they're doing is, let me explain how the monetization scheme works, and I'll be very quick. Basically, when I started, you had to establish your channel, and then over time YouTube would allow you to monetize, meaning you get a cut of the pot. Now, a few years ago, they actually opened it up that anyone who started a channel right away would be able to be monetized and start earning income quickly. A couple years ago, if you remember, in a very scandalous act, they announced that they were ending that policy, and that basically you had to have a certain number of subscribers. I think it was something like 10,000 to have your channel monetized. That was if you started after a certain date. I was obviously grandfathered in, or else my channel would be very different now if it even still existed. But unfortunately, someone like my sister, she started losing money overnight because she just didn't have that subscriber count. And to be fair, 10,000 subscribers, from what I understand, is the minimum to have a self sustaining channel, and also opens you up to more options in terms of communicating with people from YouTube. Do I agree with that? No. Well, now what YouTube is doing is the newer channels that aren't monetized, meaning you don't get a slice of the pie. It's not like the videos are just there. YouTube is still putting ads on them, but now they're getting 100% of the profits. So they figured out what they're going to do is promote and push those channels over the channels like myself and other reviewers who they have to share the profits with. Now, this does not affect the larger YouTube toy channels who are self-sustaining and, get 30,000 views just by sneezing. And in terms of Transformers, these are the guys who do the stolen reviews. I don't want to acknowledge their names. But it's these newer channels that are coming along, and they're hitting right out of the gate because their channels are being promoted over ones like mine. So it's very important that, number one, you stick with the smaller. Normally I would say support the smaller YouTuber, but now I have to say support the smaller established YouTuber, because we're the ones getting the brunt of things and losing out. And maybe I'll talk about this at a later point in time, but that's why it's very important to share our content over social media. I used to say let the content creators control where their stuff appears, but I've kind of had to change that because I just can't be everywhere and on every site. There's not enough time, and it also gets a little redundant. But also, be wary of like the new guys, because they're doing well now, and I'm sure they have like they're getting like promotional stuff and maybe even a Patreon. But I'm curious to see if they're going to stick around once they become monetized and YouTube stops promoting them. That's why also it's very important that if you want to support my Patreon, www.patreon.com/chuckdog1999. Now, and I need to stress this: my channel will never go away from a lack of Patreon support, but the Patreon does help in some sort of way in allowing me to maybe not wait for Amazon to get figures in stock, because there's always the chance of an order getting canceled, and allows me to get figures from Command Store or the smaller boutique retailers. Number one, supporting small businesses, but also supporting these retailers that unfortunately maybe have to charge a couple bucks more for the figures. So that kind of takes the edge off. It also allows me to have things like a light box, different backdrops, tripods that can sometimes be a little bit pricey, trying to stay on top of presenting the figures in the best way possible while also being authentic to them. Upgrading my editing software and stuff like that. I freely admit I've always been a bit behind in terms of the technology, but that's just because, number one, in terms of having to use it and learn it myself, it does take time. But also, I used to find that, all these fancy bells and whistles kind of made the figures look not would get once you yourself would have it in hand. So, also, I want to mention that Patreon does allow me to sometimes explore. I'll let you know a little secret. One thing I get from YouTube, and I know I'm running a little long here, that I'm sure many of you have stopped listening by this point, is one thing they tell me when I get my weekly reports is that my legacy videos really get a lot of the most of the views. And I'm talking about reviews of the RID 2015 figures, Cyberverse figures that are now like 3-4 years old, movie figures. I mean, there are people checking out Creon reviews. I also have a couple shorts that are do that get a lot of views, but unfortunately, the slice of that pie is very, very small. Um, so so because of that and because of Patreon, that does allow me to try different things and bring different figures to you, like the Masters of the Universe Rock-On. That the views on that have been horrible, but that was a figure that I really wanted to share with you because of the emotional connection I had with it from my childhood. So I know that was a long winded way of saying that your continued support really does help my channel, and I do appreciate it. I mean, I've been doing this for over 10 years, and I've said this to several people that, my channel is one of attrition. As other YouTubers have said on and off for the last few years that they're looking to wind things down, that they're losing interest, I'm staying. And I hope that their subscribers come over and give my channel a watch. But I see I've gone on for a while. So once again, let me just reiterate, Shard is a fantastic figure. And I do thank you all for your support and time in watching this video. And I hope you do watch this video because I don't think it's going to be supported or promoted by the usual Transformer sites. So, yeah, and I really hope you enjoyed it. So, once again, this is your old pal Chuck for Shard. We will see you next time.